Hello again, many thanks for joining us here on the news. Now let's begin with our very first story, and allegations of illegal mining, political interference and heavy equipment seized by the national security has run on the neck of some small and medium scale miners. To ascertain the details, Metro News visited one of the sites in the eastern region.
At first glance, it looks like any other mining operation. But this site in Nsiaprim has recently come under intense public scrutiny. Nawara Mining Company was accused in a recent publication of operating illegally, allegedly backed by one Alfred Mahama. In response, the company opened its doors to the media, offering a rare look into its operations. What we saw paints a contrasting picture: reclaimed land, structured washing zones, and a self-contained dam system that recycles water for operations. Nana Ejeyiba for Aqua, Public Relations Officer for Nawara, firmly denied any link to Alfred Mahama or any political interference.
A mining company with mining lease, and whatever we are doing, we do with the laws of the country. We are not doing anything contrary to the laws of the country. Like you can see clearly here, whatever we are doing, we are making sure we do it accordance with the law. We have been doing the reclamation since we started mining here. The names associated with this work are of force. We don't have any big men at our back. We are only working within the conformity of the Ghana Constitution. We have our legal mining concession that we are working on. And when you are doing something legal, you don't need any backing. That's why we are telling you that there's nobody behind us. We are only working as a company.
He emphasized the company's commitment to responsible and sustainable mining practices.
We entreat everybody to do reclamation after mining. Those who are within water bodies should go out of that area. Those who are in forest should mine in a very responsible manner, not to destroy the forest. So let's do a very responsible mining to sustain our development.
With increasing scrutiny on the small-scale mining sector, Nawara says it's ready to lead by example. As tensions rise between environmental protection and economic activity, the call for responsible mining has never been louder. Shadrach Odame Ejari, Metro News.
Now to our top story for the day, the NLC has asked the striking teachers to get back into the classrooms. We'll be sharing that with you on the video wall in a bit. We'll tell you what the NLC has been saying. Now, they have directed the 3 striking university unions to immediately call off their indefinite strike, invoking its legal authority under Section 139, Clause 1D of the Labour Act 2003. The directive affects the Senior Staff Association, Universities of Ghana, the Technical University Administrators Association of Ghana, and the Federation of the University Senior Staff Association of Ghana. And here are excerpts of the statement as you see here: directive to call off strike action. Now, the National Labour Commission, in pursuance of its powers under 139 Clause 1D of the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, directs the following unions: Senior Staff Association, Universities of Ghana, Technical University Administrators Association of Ghana, TUTAG, and Federation of Universities Senior Staff Association of Ghana, FUSAG, to call off their strike. Now, the background to this is that on the 12th of May 2025, the Commission was served with notice of intention to embark on industrial action by the Senior Staff Association, Universities of Ghana, TUTAG, and also FUSAG over a claim of non-implementation of agreed conditions of service, which agreement was made on 12th of November 2024. It continues that in response to the Commission, per letter dated 13th May 2025, summoned the parties, that is the complainants, unions, and the relevant government bodies respondents in the matter, to appear before the Commission on Wednesday, that is 21st May 2025 at 2 p.m. for a hearing of the matter. says that the commission further directed that since it has intervened in the matter, the aggrieved unions must stay the intended action in persons of Section 160 of Access 51 for the parties to appear. Now, on 21st May 2025, the parties appeared and the complainant unions were represented by the National Chairman and General Secretary of FUSAG and the National Chairman and Vice Chairman of TUAG, accompanied by other executives, and also the SSA, Universities of Ghana, one of the complainants. Now, the unions were absent. The respondents were represented by the Acting Deputy Director General, Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, the head of legal, and other officials of Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Principal Budget Analyst, Ministry of Finance, and one other. It continues that information on declaration of strike by the three complainant unions. The commission was informed at the hearing by the representatives of government, the respondent, that notwithstanding the commission's directive that the complainant unions must stay off the intended strike action, they have flouted this directive. This information was confirmed per copy of press release signed by the leadership of the three unions dated 21st May 2025, titled SSA, UG, TUAG, and FUSAG embark on indefinite strike over government's continued breach of agreement. In view of this, the Commission declined to hear the matter in accordance with Section 161 of Act 651 until the complainant unions call off the strike and duly notify the Commission of same. And we'll stay on this story and bring you more details subsequently. We're trying to connect with our guest on the phone lines. That's when we get him, we'll definitely talk about that directive from the NLC. But for now, the Member of Parliament for Segnarigu, Atta Issa, has maintained that the currency depreciation to the major international currencies is as a result of internal policies, including the introduction of the gold board and the release of $490 million into the forex market by the Finance Ministry, coupled with external factors. The lawmaker was responding to former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's claim that the government cannot print out any policy or point out any policy it has implemented that resulted in the appreciation of the cedi.
Level, we'll give credit to the IMF, not the government of Ghana then. Or we can even say, well, they also had some role to play. But the current performance that we are seeing is a combination of several factors. Domestic government policies, and I'll give you some. And then the global factors to account for some of these things, and then that of the interventions by the Bank of Ghana. So, for example, Bank of Ghana, in April this year, a dollar to the cedi, or the cedi to the dollar, was 15.53 in April. Then the Bank of Ghana injected 400 million US forex market and gave BDCs and other business people access to dollars. Just an overnight, the day it was released in April, it moved from 15.53 to 14.9 in one day. And from there, it has come to 11.9. So it tells you that there is enough liquidity in the forex market. And it is just a simple demand and supply situation. You have more cedis chasing few dollars in the typical case of depreciation. Now you have abundant dollars that can meet our cedi. So that is a case of appreciation. So my point is that the release by the Bank of Ghana of $490 million into the forex market contributed significantly into that. Number two is our gold accumulation reserves. Look, let's not lie to ourselves. Same time last year, that is May last year, the total volumes of gold export for 2023 up to that point was about 8.7.
While still staying with the appreciation of the city, the minority in parliament has lauded what it calls a tactical admission by the President John Mahama and his finance minister that the recent appreciation of the Ghana city is largely due to policy measures and reserves built under the previous New Patriotic Party administration. The minority contends that the key policy framework, such as the Gold for Forex initiatives and gold reserves accumulation program, were strategic innovations rolled out by the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration in response to the 2022 economic crisis.
The position of the minority on the president's comments was contained in a statement signed by the ranking member on the Finance Committee, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam. According to the statement, President Mahama's credit to Ghana's gross international reserves, reported at $10.6 billion as of April 2025, is evidence that the NDC government is reaping the benefit of prudent macroeconomic policies laid down by predecessors. They believe Mahama's comments reaffirm that the current administration has not introduced any fundamental new or innovative measures to stabilize the city. The minority contends that key policy frameworks such as the Gold for Forex initiative and the Gold Reserve Accumulation Program were strategic innovations rolled out by the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration in response to the 2022 economic crisis. President Mahama's acknowledgement, along with recent remarks by Finance Minister Atufosen describing Gold-bought Gold for Forex scheme as a strategic currency tool, forms part of what the minority says is a broader confirmation of the NPP's foresight in economic management. The minority also noted that by the end of 2024, the Bank of Ghana had increased the nation's gold reserves from 8.78 tons in May 2023 to 30.53 tons, while achieving an import cover of 4 months above the IMF's benchmark. These moves, they argue, gave the central bank room to intervene in the forex market and boost currency stability.
You're still watching the news updates here on Metro TV. I am Desmond Okrekudans. We're live on Facebook at Metro TV Ghana and also on DSTV channel 277. And we'll be talking about the witchcraft bill that Amnesty International is saying that should be fast-tracked in Parliament.
The reports focused on key insights into Ghana's human rights status, while the death penalty report highlights the progress of campaigns following the passage of the two bills, the Criminal Offences Act, Act 29, 1960, and the Ghana Armed Forces Act 105, 1962 in July 2023, which calls for a constitutional amendment to remove the death penalty in Ghana completely. Speaking at the launch of the Amnesty International Report and Death Sentences and Execution Report in Accra, Board Vice Chairperson of Amnesty International Ghana, Charity Baturi, gave key highlights of the report.
Amnesty International Ghana calls for a constitutional reform to eliminate the death penalty for all offences, including high treason. 2. Reintroduction and passage of the Armed Forces Bill. And 3. Commutation of all 182 existing death sentences to terms of imprisonment.
Country Director of Amnesty International Ghana, Genevieve Patterson, called for a presidential action on the bill to criminalize witchcraft accusations and a permanent end to death sentencing.
Calling on the government to work with the Ministry of Gender to come out with a comprehensive roadmap that would lead to the eventual closing of these camps. However, there are so many issues there right now. There's lack of access to water in some of the camps, lack to health, proper health facilities, and also lack of education for the children living in these camps.
She also called for the scrapping of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, which she maintains criminalizes LGBTQI people.
The bill attacks everyone. It attacks you, the media, it attacks academics, it attacks me, an advocate, and it attacks the LGBT community. But I mean, once that bill passes, we all day inside. We are all part of that discriminatory bill. So it should definitely be scrapped out completely.
On death sentences and executions, the report shows that Amnesty International recorded 1,518 executions in 2024 in 15 countries, a 32% increase from the 1,153 known executions in 2023, the highest figure recorded by Amnesty International since 2015, when it recorded 1,634 executions.
It's now time for our TDJ segment here on the news, and we'll go to Tema, the Member of Parliament for Tema West constituency, that is James Eno, has served notice that houses, shops and other facilities that are built on waterways and waste pipes within the constituency will be pulled down in the coming days.
Most areas within the Tema West constituency have been noted for very poor sanitation environments for many years due to broken toilet pipes, choked gutters, indiscriminate disposal of waste material, and the most disturbing situation being deliberate blockage of drainage by developers. This uncompleted building is sited on a drainage, raising concern over issuance of permits for such projects. Heavy stench emanates from stagnant liquid and solid waste in gutters in between homes and shops, particularly at the BBC area at Community 2, exposing residents to health hazard. This is a very clear evidence to what exactly is happening over here at the BBC area of Tema Community 2. And as you can see behind me, this is a 4-dimension place where wastewater is expected to exchange, but it is actually flooded with plastic materials in there. So water is unable to flow to either side of the divide. Musa Mustafa and Elizabeth Ter, both residents, recount how individuals dispose refuse
irresponsibly.
No one way the man because you name so what so a hand was being you so maybe no what bets now community no where the man in there yentum but ye fere ye hwana yes aka one where the man no area people to more the ball would go team now block drainage no be a cause flooding into on any problem
Christmas na say I don't be so I am say I used to into where any day we had the day higher now going to me nyashi mani nye because now by an na wo ye no nso amanfo mpre yet.
The alarming state of affairs caught the attention of the Member of Parliament James Enu, who has embarked on a tour of the affected areas in partnership with bus stop boys to assess the situation, after which a 4-day cleanup exercise would be scheduled. The lawmaker gave a clear notice that structures blocking drains would be pulled down in order to address the problem holistically.
A couple of days I was with the MC and some of the engineers of the assembly touring the whole of the municipality. And indeed, the discussions that we have in some of the areas that we visited, a number of decisions have been taken. Some of the areas we need re-engineering so that we can do, there are things they can do to re-engineer the area and then the water can flow. In some areas, we have no option than to demolish. In some areas, we have to create drains. In some areas, we have to desilt. So every area and the action that comes with it to solve the problem.
Kojo Safo, who spoke on behalf of the bus stop boys, expressed their commitment to ensure a clean environment.
So we'll be engaging in the cleaning exercise and also the educational aspect. The little that we know, we try to share with people to understand that plastics is not necessarily waste. It is something that can bring another form of income to us.
Beginning to touch down, it is very important that such activities are being carried out to make sure that the areas within the Tema West does not flood. And so the Member of Parliament herself cautioned that buildings are going to be pulled down if there need be to allow for water to flow through the gutters in the constituency to avoid flooding within the environment. From the Tema West constituency here in the Greater Accra region, Jeffrey Malta Tipo for Metro News. Now, Dr. Vanessa van den Borgaard, a research fellow at the International Center for Tax and Development at the University of Toronto, has called for the adoption of digital systems to enhance property tax collection. She made these remarks during a property tax workshop held here in Accra.
There's a real opportunity right now to use technology and especially some tools around digitalization to improve both revenue outcomes for local governments when we're thinking about property tax, but also the fairness in the way in which property tax is levied for taxpayers, and to ensure greater transparency and accountability over the revenues raised. So it can be something that both ensures greater efficiency. We can use various forms of technology to better identify properties, to keep track of those properties, to follow up with taxpayers, but to ensure that that is done in a way that is targeting the higher income, the higher value properties, not doing something that's broad-based that affects everybody. Thinking about ways that technology can also be used then to attract the revenues and to make sure that that is shared with taxpayers. And all of that is extremely necessary in order to think about building popular support for reform. I mean, it's no surprise, no one likes paying any taxes, but people often particularly hate paying property tax. You know, it's feeling, there's often a feeling that you know, what right does the government have to tax the building that I made? You know, they didn't help me with that. They didn't provide a loan. But the sense that if these technologies can provide an avenue to improve service delivery for taxpayers, when they start to see the benefits of paying property tax, whether we're thinking about improvements of local roads or thinking about electricity and water, local health.
Now let's do some education stories. And the TDJ Mensa Foundation, a charitable organization founded by award-winning Ghanaian DJ Mensa, has donated school desk and learning materials to the Akusi AEDA school in the central region of the country to aid in teaching and learning. A few months ago, Ghanaian blogger Kobe J visited the school and showed the deplorable state of the classrooms, calling for help. Months after, the TDJ Mensa Foundation has presented some furniture to the Akusi school to give the students a comfortable atmosphere to learn. Speaking to the media, DJ Mensa said it was disheartening seeing the situation and had to step in.
I mean, and the first time BBC saying the DJ Mensa Foundation is an NGO we put together to be called communities a Yamboa. I mean, most of the time, in Crawford, more idea don't makuma so mafa one thing no be say malaria, be for malaria, but a bit different. You not call no na yeshena ya hondi betimi ana obi obetimi aboa no na ya contact ni pakron na yetimi aba na ya den ya beboa enu ntina ye set up foundation into way at the contact ba akokwasa no menya pictures from Kobiche ana Nkolano ethic formation at the end I think so for in January and we are in May. This is what we've been able to do from that time till now.
On his part, Kobiche was grateful to the DJ Mensa Foundation for helping the school.
We agree up, sitting or facing some of these situations. And so for me to move around rural communities in Ghana and to seek help for them, I think my environment and God that has actually motivated me. And I want to say a big thank you to DJ Mensa Foundation for actually, requesting to see the video of these young, vulnerable, Ghanaians. And one of the most heartbreaking factors is that these children you see here were once sitting on the floor to study. And apparently, they also write the same examination with these students that are also in a very conducive environment.
Kasim Mohammed is Deputy Director for Finance and Administration at the Aguna East District Education Office.
A situation of furniture in this school, in fact, it was very difficult for the children to get desks to sit on. All the desks supplied by the District Assembly and the Member of Parliament have all been disused. They are not in use. They've been broken down, including teachers' chairs and tables. If you come to the JHS, you could only get about 6 proper desks where the children is on who first come, first serve basis. But now, with the support of DJ Mensa, I think we are very glad that these children will get chairs to sit on.
And that's all for the news updates. I'm Desmond Okrekudan. So Akusi is standing by with the rest of the program. And definitely, I know the city conversation will continue. Akusi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Desmond. How are you doing?
Very well, very well.
I was just watching the last news item, and I think it's very commendable. Kobe is a very good guy. So I was trying to see whether he himself sent the items, but whichever way, it's very commendable.
Yeah, very, very, very commendable. But of course, the city says that we're doing.
The city. So I'm on the Bank of Ghana's website now. The interbank exchange rate, and it's buying for 11.8441, and then selling for 11.8559. So of course, the mid rates will be 11.850. So if you have some dollars, and if you want to sell them or you have to buy, you are thinking around 11.85, and that's some very good news.
That's some very
excellent
good news.
Yeah. So far, so good. I think that's we need to commend the managers of the economy, the Bank of Ghana, the Ministry of Finance, and even the commercial banks that are making sure, because usually you would see all of these rates and you go to the commercial bank
and they are different.
And the rates are different. But I remember the last time I had to change money, I went to EcoBank. It was around 13.8 thereabouts.
Okay.
And it was almost, I think, a very marginal difference between that of EcoBank and what the Bank of Ghana had quoted at the time. So I think we're on a good
Well, for now, we love it. And then, as you said, make sure that if you have some dollars.
You sound like you have a lot of dollars in stock waiting for.
You went to change money, so I'm coming to see you. All right, so Chairman, over to you.
Right, so thank you very much. We'll take a quick break, but just before we do that, let me run you quickly through what's going to happen. We are getting on Business Edge on Good Afternoon Ghana. So right after this break, I'll be hosting a very important person in the country of course, and in the financial sector to talk to us about some of the things that have been happening in the financial sector. If we get the opportunity as well, we will talk about the dollar and all the things, the financial sector reforms, the impact so far, what's been happening. Are we expecting new banks and all of the issues that are going on in the banking sector? So this afternoon, you want to stick and stay with us. And if you have any issue at all, we'll put up a line. You are not allowed to call anyway. We'll put up a line. You can send in your WhatsApp messages. When we have the opportunity, we'll try as much as possible to read them for you. The second leg of the conversation will be an interaction with WAMPEX. That's the West African Mining and Power Conference, which is coming up somewhere next week. We'll have the CEO of WAMPEX and some executives to be speaking to on the impact of mining so far. We'll talk about Galamsey, we'll talk about small-scale mining, we'll talk about how to grow the economy, of course, the contribution of the mining sector to the economy, but how to stop illegal mining and streamline, even with the oncoming of Gold Board, everything that's happening. And then we'll see what is going to exactly happen at the conference, which is happening next week. So you want to stick and stay with us. When we come back from the break, we'll begin showing you, as I read to you, how the city is performing against the major foreign currencies. We'll give you some tidbits in the business world, and then we'll begin our discussion. Stay with us.
Whether you're a wholesaler, retailer, or consumer, MNC Logistics and Trading is your trusted partner in minerals and food commodities trading. Experience the difference with MNC Logistics and Trading for your commodities trading. We operate a well-equipped laboratory that smelts and assays gold to ensure transparent, credible, and reliable minerals transactions. Our general food commodity market deals with imports and exports of food products such as rice, sugar, and grains. We pride ourselves on delivering products that meet the highest standards of quality and taste. With our expertise in international trading and logistics, we bridge customers far and wide. Locate us at number 4 Neosai Interfo Avenue, East Legon, Accra. Call us on 030-299-8246 or visit our website www.mnclogisticsandtrading.com. MNC Logistics and Trading, hub of confidence.
Brand new on DSTV. When a nominee to the Supreme Court dies, his family begins to suspect foul play.
Dad knew that he was in trouble.
Hollywood's darkest scandals are exposed in this gripping 6-part documentary series.
You have violence, fraud, homicide.
And a rich and powerful family is thrown into turmoil when a young woman claims to be the owner's illegitimate daughter.
You have another daughter.
Stay connected to everything new on your home of entertainment, DSTV.
Did you know you can make money every day on the Wanna Own game app? Here is how to play and win. Watch Wanna Own on Entertainment Review every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Metro TV. Scan the code for access, select a game, and play away. There's money to make on Wanna Own. What are you waiting for? Wanna Own, more money every day. Endorsed and accredited by NLA.
Hey Ghana! Hey Accra! Where are the maiden edition? Walk in your jersey. Ignite Sports and Yade Bramo. Paso Saturday, 24th of May, 2025. Yashasya wa Accra Mall. Nyakwakobi wa Center Point Mall. Our Atomic Junction. Shannon Song. Ignite Sports.
Team Bain our supporting. Arsenal, Man U, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Inter, Anase, FC, Barcelona. And yeah, Shawu Jesse. Na brasia eye walk in your jersey yenina yenhye jersey niemra nienantimo
etie to yesade frɛ asɔre akuo anyina keep fit club anase suku ahodo anyina ye hyase ɛwɔ shopping mall Accra mall ye hyase na ye dia kopem ɛwɔ Center Point eye walk in your jersey we taking over
You're welcome back from the break. So you're welcome to Business Edge. We are coming away live from our studios here at Regi in Accra. Let me go straight to the point. And I was just talking to you about the forex rates. I think we will just put up what's happening on the market to you from the Bank of Ghana. So according to the Bank of Ghana, the dollar, as I was talking about, is going for 11.8559, and it's also selling. So it's actually buying for 11.8441 and selling for 11.8559. The British pound sterling is selling for 15.8320, buying for 15.8320 and selling for 15.8490. The Swiss franc is going for 14.2374 and selling for 14.2501. So that's what's happening. But we have some tidbits, new tidbits in business for you. We'll play that for you briefly. And then when I come back into the studio, my guest is already seated. I told you early on that the main discussion for the day, we are beginning with the banking sector issues. And I'll be announcing to you my guest very soon. You would love who we are going to host, and I mean to be able to address all of the issues in the banking sector. So let's see the tidbits. We'll be right back.
Tullow Ghana and its partners have announced the restart of drilling operations in the Jubilee field, marking a renewed phase of investment and confidence in Ghana's energy future. The new 2-year drilling program begins this year and is expected to significantly boost oil production and improve operational efficiency at one of West Africa's most strategic oil fields. This campaign follows the successful completion of Tullow's previous 4-year drilling program in December 2024, which delivered 18 new wells 6 months ahead of schedule and under budget. That project was praised for its efficiency, strong safety performance, and disciplined cost control. Latest data from the Bank of Ghana indicates that government missed its treasury bill target for the third consecutive time, falling short by 3.92 billion Ghana cedis. The auction recorded an undersubscription rate of 58.67%, a stark contrast to the previous week's full acceptance. The government sought to raise 6.68 billion Ghana cedis but received total bids of 2.76 billion Ghana cedis. The 91-day bill received 4.36 billion Ghana cedis in bids, with 2.09 billion Ghana cedis accepted. For the 182-day bill, the government accepted 513 million Ghana cedis out of 731 million Ghana cedis tendered, while the 364-day bill attracted 260 million Ghana cedis in bids, of which 154 million Ghana cedis was accepted. Ghana's industrial arts and crafts subsector recorded a 23% increase in export earnings in 2024, contributing 3% to total non-traditional exports, up from 2.43% in 2023. This is according to the 2024 Non-Traditional Export Statistics Report released by the Ghana Exports Promotion Authority. The surge was led by Kente products, which posted an exceptional growth of 523%, reflecting growing international demand for Ghanaian textiles. Handicraft items followed closely with a 440% increase, while bamboo and cane furniture exports rose by 274%. Other strong performers included beads, which recorded 114%, ceramic products inched up to 23%, and hides and skins contributed 26%. However, the sector also saw declines in some areas. Mats dropped by 32%, statues by 31%, and traditional musical instruments by 19%, indicating shifting global preferences. GEPA attributes the sector's growth to a rising global interest in handmade, sustainable, and culturally significant products. AngloGold Ashanti has reported a 7-fold increase in free cash flow and an almost 8-fold rise in profits attributable to equity shareholders in the first quarter of 2025 compared to quarter 1 2024. This is underpinned by higher gold production, effective cost management, and a stronger gold price. The company generated $403 million in free cash flow in quarter 1 2025, representing a 607% year-on-year increase from $57 million during the same period in 2024. This performance was supported by a 28% rise in gold production from managed operations, primarily driven by the first-time contribution from the recently acquired Sukari gold mine in Egypt, and solid output improvement at both Siguri and Tropicana. The average gold price received per ounce increased to $2,874 in quarter 1 2025, up from $2,063 in quarter 1 2024. This is a very strong start to the year, particularly at our managed operations, said Chief Executive Officer Alberto Calderon. Investor confidence on the Ghana Stock Exchange continued to soar as the equities market recorded a strong performance at the month of April 2025. The GSE Composite Index recorded a year-to-date return of 24.69%, while the Financial Stock Index advanced by 30.72%, reflecting continued robust market. Additionally, the number of transactions recorded at the end of April 2025 saw a substantial increase of 587.19% compared to the same period last year. Top gainers from the month of April 2025 were SIC Insurance Company PLC 42.86%, Clydestone Ghana PLC 33.33%, Societe Generale Ghana PLC 10%, Benso Palm Plantation PLC 9.98%, Trust Bank Gambia Limited 9.64%, Ghana Oil Company PLC 8.64%, GCB Bank PLC 4.96%, Enterprise Group PLC 4.31%, Ecobank Transnational Incorporation 3.53%, Guinness Ghana Breweries PLC 3.20%, Fun Milk PLC 2.70%, Total Energies Marketing Ghana PLC 1.79%, Ecobank Ghana PLC 1.51%, Standard Chartered Bank Ghana PLC 0.77%, and Access Bank Ghana PLC 0.55%. On the losing side were Calbank PLC 13.33%, Scancom PLC negative 5.3%, and New Gold negative 1.65%. Elon Musk has said he is committed to staying on as Tesla's CEO for at least another 5 years, weeks after the electric vehicle makers chair dismissed reports that the board had approached executive search firms about finding his successor. Having reasonable control of Tesla was the most important factor in staying on as head of the company, Musk said on Tuesday at an economic forum in Qatar. Earlier this month, Tesla chair Robin Denholm denied the Wall Street Journal report that said board members had reached out to several executive search firms to find a replacement for Musk. Musk, who spoke by video at the event in Qatar, said that Tesla had already turned around sales and demand was strong in regions apart from Europe, where the company has faced protests over his political views. Tesla sales have also slumped in the United States, where there was a 9% drop in the first 3 months of 2025, according to the research firm Cox Automotive. That was largely driven by Musk's political involvement, including leading the U.S. Department of Government Efficiency, which made significant cuts across the federal workforce. As a result, protests ensued and boycotts of Musk-connected businesses unfolded. U.S. retail chain Target has slashed its expectations for the year after a sharp fall in sales, which it blamed on a highly challenging environment amid the introduction of trade tariffs. Its sales slumped by 5.7% in the 3 months to May, at a time when the company also faced a backlash following a previous decision to end diversity, equity, and inclusion targets. Bosses declined to confirm any potential price rises due to higher import taxes, saying raising prices could be a last resort. Brian Cornell, chief executive of Target, said pricing decisions will depend on the retailer's efforts to source more products in the U.S. and reduce its reliance on China.
Right, so that's some news tidbits going on around the world, mostly in Ghana and the rest of what's happening around the world in the space of business. So you're welcome back to the studio, and I introduced you earlier on that I'm talking about the banking sector. Fortunately for us, we have the chief executive himself of the Ghana Association of Bankers joining me this afternoon, Mr. John Awuah is the CEO. John, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm managing.
So far, so good?
So I would say so. So far, so good.
And for you in the banking sector, the economy and everything that's happening so far, you think we are on the right path? We are good?
I think as a country, we are on a good trajectory. A lot of our fundamentals are looking upwards in the right places. Yes, there are areas where one would say, one would wish that the pace would have been accelerated, particularly in the area of inflationary pressures. Aside that, as banks, we are a residual carrier of risks within the environment. So to the extent that the country seems to be on a good trajectory and economic fundamentals are
prices
looking
are coming down, the exchange rate is not even stable, but the city is appreciating against the dollar, and there are calls for reduction of prices in the markets. You have seen that too?
I've heard a few. Even was it yesterday morning, and I heard a few on the radio with businesses calling on advertising that they've reduced their prices. It's a positive sign. We are not used to, in this country, seeing a trend where businesses actually go out of their own way to advertise that in response to the current economic circumstance and the fact that the currency is faring much better than we all had anticipated, that what you used to buy at 10 Ghana cedis, come and we'll give to you maybe at 8 Ghana. I think it's a very positive development.
But have you received calls, the banks, the commercial banks precisely, also to reduce your interest rates and the charges for at the end of the month for people?
I think, all right. But the point is this, as banks, we are not comfortable with where interest rate is. We are not happy with it.
Okay.
So when
this is the first time I'm hearing.
Yeah. When interest rate is coming down, it's good news for the banks as well, because the higher the interest rate, the higher the propensity of default or the probability of default. And as a lender, you don't want to give money, and you are likely going to lose about 20-25% of the money. You are better off receiving 95% of the money, or even more than together with your interest, more than what you gave out. So
you actually are interested in the interest rates going down?
Yeah, banks are interested in interest rate going down because we don't benefit.
Do more people come in to borrow when interest rates are going down?
Okay, so this is what happens. Banks don't make their money on the gross interest they receive. They make their money on what you call the net interest margin. It's in the middle.
Okay.
And that middle, yes, it may shrink depending on the movement of the rate. If the rate is coming down aggressively, it may shrink, but it's still a safe place to stay. Once you are there and you are making decent revenues, you are sure that the bottom line is exactly the kind of bottom line that you anticipate and will be getting, because you will not make the revenue up there and then you have impairment or provision, loan default, hitting you down there because people are struggling to pay as a result of where interest rates are.
And even the kind of businesses and people who come in, I mean, do you have the small businesses, small, medium enterprises coming in the more, the large corporate entities or the big borrowers coming in. And so if the interest rates are coming down, how does this also play? Do you have these small companies coming in?
It helps a lot. And you see the demand go up. Definitely when interest rates are aggressively declining. And one thing that you would see is if you are a borrower, you have good credit score, your credit history is good. Even where the lending rate is, there are businesses that are still able to borrow at reasonably, I would call it affordable, more affordable price point. So we are all hoping that the fundamentals continue in the trajectory or in the direction where they are moving, and interest rates to follow. The lending rate, people say, why are banks not also reducing? But unfortunately for us, we have a very mechanical way of determining what the price of loan is. And it is dictated by the regulator. The regulator says there's a certain benchmark rate, which is called the Ghana reference rate. And the Ghana reference rate is not just one rate. It is the interplay of different rates. You have the treasury rate, you have the policy rate, and then you have the interbank rate. So there are various weights, and the three together, adjusted for the cash reserve requirement, then gives you the Ghana reference rate. Technically, that is your floor. You cannot go below the Ghana reference rate.
Wow.
I just said that the very good businesses with good credit culture are able to borrow below it, and banks are having to explain to Bank of Ghana that this is the reason why we are lending below our base rate or the floor rate, because it's supposed to be your Ghana reference rate plus your risk margin. And that's what should give you a lending rate.
The regulator doesn't have a problem with that if you have to go below the base rate.
Not necessarily, but obviously
when you
questions, then the base rate, becoming the benchmark, becomes a bit questionable. Is it that the base rate is not reflective of where it should be, or banks are just on their way in an effort at attracting a lot more businesses, are just lowering the rate? I would go with the former, that the rate should be left where it is, but the fundamentals that drive the rate should rather be worked at aggressively, so that if we all together are able to bring the rate to a more sustainable, affordable level, maybe 18, 17, 16, it becomes more sustainable and is not something that comes within a matter. We have been there before.
Yes.
I was then working at, I believe, at Barclays Bank, somewhere 2009, 2003, 2008, 2007.
2008,
2007, 2006.
Yes.
And banks were writing to customers to borrow.
But I remember my senior brother was being chased to come and take a loan.
And I was part of it. We wrote to customers. We wrote and posted to customers anonymously, like you just receive a letter from a bank, come for a loan at 13%. It happened in this country before.
My senior brother, who is a medical doctor and works at a hospital, received several letters.
So we have been here
Barclays
before.
Bank to come for a loan.
We have been here before.
We are going to get back
and
there.
It is possible to be here. I don't want us to be here and go back. When we are coming, it should be a very controlled, steady, because it should be driven not by somebody like a curtain, somebody going to drop it. It should be driven by the fundamental, the movement in the fundamentals. And that is why what is happening to the currency should be welcomed by all of us. What is happening to inflation, though it's not as aggressive downward slide, but it's still good, 21%. We are coming down.
We have hit almost 50%.
Yes.
Recently.
What is happening to the foreign reserves, which means that the central bank has more capacity to support the currency, is a positive development. What is happening externally, exports are buoyant. All these are very good indicators of a sustained economic growth, something that I would say we can all put our wheels to and help to grow further, so that when we get to the level where you and I would say, oh, we now go to our bank and borrow at 12, 13, 14%, you will not wake up in 2 years and we are back to where we are now. And that, in my view, is where, as a country, we've been doing, because we always like to touch the surfaces without addressing the fundamentals.
But do you know that without you, you and your people, you and your members, the economy will go down, will collapse entirely?
There will not be a country without banks. And that is where, sometimes I say this to media people, your colleagues, that when banks throw their numbers out there or their financials and they are making decent profit,
yes,
you should not have a negative tendency, the kind of reports.
I was going to ask you whether you think you are shortchanging customers. And
no,
some of these perceptions, based on what you are saying.
And that is
because
why.
When the reports come, when the profits are reported, some people think that then you can bring down your interest rates.
I'm saying this.
Bring down your charges so that.
Yeah, and I get your point.
Yes.
Because I'm saying this because it's important that as the public, everybody who is watching, everyone who is watching us this afternoon, understand that as a country, we need stronger banks. We need more resilient banks. We need banks that can anchor the economic growth we are all yearning for, that can anchor industrialization, that can anchor infrastructural development. You can't get that from banks that are throwing out losses. You can get that from banks that are able to accumulate capital, build capacity, and able to support infrastructural projects, able to support industry. So when the results come out, I want people to rather be excited that we are now growing an industry that will have the ammunition to support the economic growth that we are all craving for.
The resilience and all of the things that you talk about, you are the chief executive of the association. And so I'm sure you see the performance of almost all the banks that we have in the country. How would you, in your own estimation, rate the current banking sector in the country? How would you, are we moving forward? How would you rate or describe the current state of the banking sector in the country?
Yeah, I would say we are not at our desired end, but we have made very good progress. And the banks that we have as an industry, we have very strong banks that have sufficient capital to absorb whatever shocks.
Are they not struggling with the capital?
No. You can check. I mean, the capital adequacy as an industry is significantly above the regulatory minimum.
That's the 400
I'm not
million.
here to talk about individual institutions, but
yes.
Of course, the banks have strong capital base, they have strong liquidity base, their profitability is good, which means their capacity to accumulate capital is also, elevated. And we need such institutions. We need banks that have that breadth to be able to support.
The capacity, I mean, apart from the minimum capital of the 400 million, if you have, I think about last year or 2 years ago, Eka Energy was in the country exploring, and they needed some companies to partner with. We didn't have anybody. Is it that the banks don't have the capacity to support our local people to get into areas like that, the mining sector, the extractive industry, and so we have to fall on outsiders all the time to come and do for us because rippling effect, and that's why I started by saying if you are not there, the economy is doomed. If we have all of them coming and we are fighting for local content, and at the end of the day, the country's percentage is only 10%, 15%, 13%. When you can support the locals, build them up, give them maybe letters of credit or the financial support for us to go into these areas and then grow the economy, and we are not seeing, is it the issue of capacity? Or what's it?
I'll come to that.
Yes,
sir. Actually, I'll take the two together.
Please go on.
I'm talking about the capacity and resilience. If not for the fact that we had stronger, more organized, governance-wise, well operated financial institutions or banks, I would say we, as a country, perhaps I don't know where we would have been, because it is the banks that led the country out of the DDEP or the constraints of the debt overhang and the debt unsustainability that resulted in the domestic debt exchange. As an industry, we took a hit of almost 18 billion Ghana cedis, capital wiped off. But still we have banks, all the banks existing, because they have built capital buffers that enable them to absorb the huge losses that, through no fault of theirs.
The banks lost 18 billion.
I'm telling you.
Ghana cedis.
Ghana cedis in a matter of 1 year in terms of capital loss. And what happened? We have been able to recover, and we are now, on a trajectory of growth. So we need stronger banks. And you talk about capacity. And that is why, as a country, we should all be interested in building banks that have the capital base, the right, framework, supported by the correct or the right application of the governance structures to help anchor whatever economic growth that we are looking for. You are talking about huge infrastructural deficit. You are talking about, where are we industrialization? You are talking about Aker Energy and other big projects going on in the oil industry that banks, not that banks don't want to do it, but capacity-wise, one bank cannot take on such load. And that is why we can't get that overnight, but you build it. And working with the regulator or Bank of Ghana on dividend payout and other means of retaining capital, banks are gradually building. You said 400 million. There are banks of capital of 2 billion.
2 billion.
The required is 400 million. So it tells you that
that's the minimum capital.
Minimum capital. It's 400 million.
400 million.
But there are banks that are, several banks are in excess of 1 billion. You understand? Which means that we are accumulating, and over time we will build the scale that enables us to take up some of the transactions that you mentioned.
I'll come to.
But in the interim, I mean, banks are encouraged to syndicate.
Okay,
you don't have to go in alone. If you can go and take $20 million, another bank takes 20 million, and that takes 10, 5, together we can still do the transaction.
That's fine. So let me come to, I was coming to the expansion, your expansions and so on and so forth. But let me start from somewhere 2017, 18, 19, where we had the financial sector cleanup. We woke up one day and we saw UT Bank. We saw this bank, and I remember I had to rush to airport area to see the big closed post, which was put on one of the banks, and we captured, and we went around capturing all of these things. Somebody asked me, or somebody said, it could have been done in a different way, the way the cleanup was done. And somebody said, we could have held on a while. Do you think same?
The verdict is out there. I mean, this is 2025. I prefer perhaps we move forward.
Yes.
As to the mechanics of how it was done, was it necessary?
Was it necessary first?
I would say yes.
It was?
Yes, it was necessary because you do not want what is called in economics a contagion effect, where a failure in one or two can affect the whole. So to the extent that we had quite a number of banks that were struggling during that period, and the cleanup resulted in more healthier banks, I would say, was it necessary? Yes. Was the approach the optimum approach? I cannot say yes or no. The verdict is out there. There are analysts who have come out with alternate methodology that could have been used. There are others who have also supported.
Some of them have actually gone to court.
And that is why
to get their licenses
that is
back.
why I try as much as possible.
Yes, I agree.
As someone who operates with all
them.
the banks, not to put myself within the center of this controversy. And I cannot legislate on who is right and who is wrong. But what I can say is it has left us with stronger banks that are better able to support the economy.
So it was necessary. It was
it's necessity.
The approach is what you cannot comment on.
I can't comment.
But it was necessary and something good for the economy.
Yes.
But why do we get into some of the problems that we read? Financial mismanagement, leadership of these banks, and so on and so forth. And we still have the Bank of Ghana. My concern is, or let me put it straight to you, that do you think the regulatory framework is enough and effective?
We've moved on. Regulatory frameworks don't stay stagnant. I think we've learned bitter lessons. The pills have been very bitter from the lapses in the past. But we now have a more forward-looking regulatory environment. We started a couple of years ago. I think lessons have been learned, and we are only hoping that those lessons are learned, to better our approach in the future. So the next time when we are in the unlikely event that we are confronted with similar instance, we approach it with a lot more consultative manner.
But is there an improvement in the way Bank of Ghana deals with
I would
banks?
say,
because I felt personally, and forgive me if I go hard on some of them, I felt that the Bank of Ghana at the time was ineffective. You don't stay up for us to get to the points where we read of some of the things we read about, and then we go to the point of collapsing these banks. And you're there as a regulator. That's your duty.
I would rather you put this question to the Bank of Ghana. As a practitioner, all I can say is regulation change, and the manner in which regulation is rolled out also changes. We have new people, we have new mechanisms, we have a lot more consultative regulatory environment at the moment, which helps because it is only when we can sit down and judge at the table that we can think deeply around some of the systemic problems that we have within the architecture. So to that extent, I think we have made a very good progress as an industry, working with Bank of Ghana on how not to get back to where we were in the past.
And the association, from your end, what have you been doing also?
So all we are doing is trying to also get our members to be, should I say, prim and proper. You talked about
you train
governance.
them, you organize training for them?
No, we do everything. We look within the environment, we extract emerging risks. If there are opportunistic areas, we also highlight. But our key job is to advocate and make sure that if there is a law, a regulation, a directive, a notice that is coming, how will it affect the conduct of banking? Make sure that it is fit for proper, and then the consultation happens, its impact is properly assessed. Because what we've had quite some time back is, we were having things dropping on us. Now it is a lot more jaw-jawing, understanding, okay, we are bringing this regulation, what are your thoughts on it? We are bringing this directive, what are your thoughts on it? Which I think is very forward-looking. It helps. When directive comes, it helps with compliance, and it helps with accommodation. The overriding, a reason or justification for that intervention. So I think we have made a lot of progress. And I would insist, or rather, that we focus on what more can we do going forward than always to be drawing and digging the past and digging the past. Yes, history is good, but given where we are...
I'm going to ask you whether what some people think is true, that it has reduced the drive for financial sector inclusion. The number of people who had trust in the banks, wanted to bank or put their monies in the bank, either has reduced or the progress is not going on well. I'll come to that question, but let me divert a bit, and you may choose to answer this or not. Was it about some few months ago, we saw the Bank of Ghana, because we are talking about a regulation, issue a regulation against GT Bank on their issuance of dollar, and they banned them for a month. What happened?
I mean, central bank has various tools, regulatory tools for managing compliance of the banking laws and directives and notices. You would also recognize that, I think along the line, the central bank pulled out the letter.
Yes.
Which means that whatever infractions may have happened had been corrected. So as banks, I'm not sure there is an industry in the country that is as regulated as the banking industry. And I'm not sure there is...
we are putting our monies with you.
Yes.
So we need
and I'm also not sure there is an industry in Ghana that is as compliant as the banking industry. So we do everything to comply. But there are times that
the mining
they are nowhere close. You can talk to GRA, you can talk to Bank of Ghana, you can talk to the Ministry of Finance.
The mining sector?
I can bet my last dollar on it. The level of compliance of the banking, because it's like it's in our DNA. You understand? But sometimes, while you have situations such as what you described happening, is we are all interpreting the law. The banks can have a certain view of the law, and inspection or regulatory review comes, and there is a different interpretation of the law. Obviously, as a bank, you cannot fight your regulator. The regulator's understanding of it will stand. So then it will appear that you have broken the law or you have not complied. But from the bank's perspective, they would have done everything to comply. So we've been working with Bank of Ghana and other departments within the bank, that there are a lot of notices and directives all over, which have been issued several, some are decades old, and we are still using them today. Some have been superseded, others are still live. It's become a bit of confusing environment, and we want more of consolidation. If it is about foreign exchange, can we have one document which is the single source of truth? That as banks, when we pick, we know that if you do this, this is how you do it. If you want to do that, this is how you do it. If you pick foreign exchange, I can tell you we have about 8 or 9 notices and directives, aside the 2006 Foreign Exchange Act and other pronouncements by the
For that, I will attest to it because I did a transfer to the US about 2 or 3 months ago. And in fact, I got frustrated.
Yes.
For the things that I had to follow, the declarations I had to make, I personally got frustrated. But at the end of the day, I felt, well, my money is safe. I am confident that even if the transaction doesn't end well, my money will come back.
Yes. And which is absolutely right. And that is why we self-comply. So if you go to any bank and you go to the compliance team, they are almost a fiat force because compliance is everything. If you don't comply, you lose your job. So we are, it's directly in our DNA. And that is why I don't like to go to town because one bank has received a certain level of sanction.
Yes.
Because you don't understand the nuances around the sanction. There are at times, there are few that I have gotten involved, and it is a clear case of gray area where maybe the banks may have overstretched the gray area, and the central bank said, no, you should have applied it the way it's reading. That is where.
Is mobile money a competition to the banking system?
Digital financial services is the future of banking. So it's not necessarily a competition. We are helping each other to deepen financial intermediation.
So I'm not talking about the entire electronic transactions. Mobile money, as it is, for the telecommunication companies.
Because they don't exist. I said this because they don't exist on their own. Without the banks, you can't do mobile money.
Well, that's
you understand?
True, yes.
So that's why it's an ecosystem product. I don't want us to see like a telco product or a bank product. It is the future of banking, digital financial services. By law, a telco or a mobile wallet cannot operate without a bank. And so we are a key or major player within that ecosystem. We want to help deepen that. We have our own version of it, which is called the Ghana Pay.
Yes, the Ghana Pay.
Also rolled out.
Yes.
And obviously, it's because it's the future.
But should they not concentrate on providing internet services for us? Because most of us have a problem with how the internet service. They are thinking of the mobile money more than, and you should be thinking about the money.
I think you should be talking to NCA, not me. I mean, that is.
But I mean, you are a major stakeholder, and we are thinking that the money should.
We work with the ecosystem. We work with fintechs. We work with the PSP, payment service providers, the DMIs, the DEMIs. So whoever is licensed to provide financial services, we are happy to work with. Is the ecosystem, devoid of hiccups? No, there are hiccups, and I'm sure together we can, find a more decent way of making sure that the ecosystem is well fortified, protected, and fit for the future.
But I mean, digitization in general, digitalization, you have the electronic payment system, you have interoperability, and so on and so forth. For you, how is it all going? Are we advancing? Are you taking it, working with it the way you should?
Yes, I mean, it's the future of banking. I have said in many places that the future of banking is in digital finance, and that banks are going to become big fintechs in the future. You ignore it at your own risk. It is more or less an existential matter. If you are a bank and you're not doing the investment to play actively within these alternate channels of service delivery. I don't know. The last time I walked into a bank branch, I've forgotten the date. In fact, the month, perhaps even a year. I don't know about you. There are several people who are watching us today who perhaps the whole of this month may not have stepped foot in the bank. Have they banked? Yes. Some did it whilst they were on their beds. Some did it in their offices. Some did it on the go in a taxi or.
I walked to the bank because I ran away from the number of people who would say, "Oh, you can still send me. If honorable, you can't give me the money. You can still send me through your bank app." Okay. So I walked to the bank.
So if you are a bank, you have to enable that process. You have to make it more fluid, make it more secure. and make sure customers can operate safely without all these,
But some people think because of electronics and digitization, you are reducing the number of setups or the progress in setting up branches because it costs you, at my last check, some time back, I don't know whether this is true, you can tell us, it costs you about over $100,000 or up to $500,000 to set up a branch. And so now, if you can rely on mobile money or mobile phone, then there is no need going or coming to Kwabri East or Fadiman Ponting to set up a branch.
Yeah, but you still need what you call the transaction truncation point. So at some point, somebody would want to take cash, and somebody should be there to provide cash. Are you getting it?
I'm getting it.
So yes, it costs a lot to have these physical branches. I wouldn't say they will disappear, but perhaps the size and scale of the branches you see will be coming down as we go deeper and deeper into digitalization.
Go on.
Yeah. You can so you can be in Kwabre and do your banking. If in the event or in the unlikely event, you transferred money to Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. A has transferred to Mr. B, Mr. B used it to buy cement and paid either through a bank mobile app, an internet banking or a Momo wallet. At some point, somebody in the chain would want a place where they can go and cash money for something else that perhaps they cannot use the digital transmission to do. And the bank should be there to do that. And that is why we will still need some semblance of physical infrastructure around, even deep into the future.
My time is up, but let me ask you this. About, I think on the 11th of March.
I think I need to answer, before you come down, I need to answer
the
issue around whether banks are losing grip and the confidence is going down.
Yes, okay, that's important for me as well.
Confidence is at all-time high. Confidence within the banking industry is at all-time high.
From data?
By data? Backed sufficiently by data. Banks are on daily basis adding to the number of customers. Year on year, we witness deposit growth, which is the test of people willing to still put money in the bank, of 28.8%. 1 year.
Year on year.
Year on year. Just 1 year, 28.8%. It tells you the number of people who are still confidently approaching banks and making sure the bank is their preferred.
And not keeping their monies under their pillows and under their beds.
To even think about.
My time is actually up, but let me ask you this, and the impact of the e-levy. On the 11th of March, we saw the finance minister read the budgets, lots of people making noise, and then sometime later in the quarter, we saw it actually go off. There are still lots of taxes that people are expecting, especially those ones at the port, and so on and so forth. But for you, because of the discussion on digitization and digitalization and electronic transactions and all of that, has this impacted you negatively?
No, I mean, if I have to say its impact, it's rather a positive impact.
Positive impact. How so?
No, because if you are trying to migrate your banking population to digital platform, it is not the time to make it inconvenient for them to migrate. So I can walk to a bank branch and take 5,000 for free without paying anything. But if I do it electronically, where a human being is not sitting there, then I have to pay a levy. Then I will then go to the branch and make a direct withdrawal.
Yes.
So if you are trying to implement a system that migrates people from this informal way of banking to more formalized within the mainstream architecture, even for tax purposes, mainstreaming financial services. In our view, perhaps in the future, e-levy will become a viable alternative in the future. When we are all there,
they will come back?
Oh, no, I should think that in a certain form, shape, it will be coming, sometime in the future.
Near future
I mean, maybe not near.
But you can
I can envisage, because that is going
back
to be the avenue where you are going to be able to tax it. And at that point, reversal will be almost impossible, because then we are all locked up within that ecosystem that the cost to change will be so severe that even if you don't like it, that is what is available, and then people will still go with it. Where we were, which was at the point where we were now pushing aggressively the digitalization, transitioning people into the digital financial services, introducing a punitive measure during that kind of migration, I think the timing was not right.
Okay, so I was going to ask about the lots of other issues, customer service and so on and so forth. But I think that generally so far you are doing well. The banking sector is doing well.
We are doing well. We are also helping customers to do well. We are helping businesses who have bankable projects to come to us. We are asking them to come. If you are a borrowing individual customer, we are asking you to talk to your bank.
But why is it that a lot of the banks don't give startup loans?
It's not that banks give startup loans.
No, I have personally gone to a bank for a startup loan. I didn't get it.
It doesn't mean they don't give. You see, there are two different. They don't give means that they have a policy of not doing startup. There is no bank in Ghana that has a policy that would say we don't do startup. But it is how is the startup being started? What are the what's the business plan?
It's almost impossible to get.
Oh, I'm not.
Because
I have been a bank managing director before.
Yes.
And we have here, John, we are sitting here. We've supported a lot of businesses that started.
That may have been your policy because once you become the CEO, you understand the ecosystem and you determine what happens.
Whoever you spoke to is working for a CEO. And each of the banks.
But when the business started, they now said we can come for the loan because now we're depositing in the account.
You hear this quite a lot, but there are a lot of businesses out there, even on adverts that people come. I don't want to mention any bank, but I've seen adverts where they are giving statistics on the number of startups
they have supported.
So we have them all over the place. But one thing is this: if you are a bank and 30 people approach you for a loan, and 29 of them get the loan, and one does not get, the one will make noise that is louder
more than
the 29. Because nobody comes for a loan and is successful. And say, oh, I'm happy, hooray, my customers, my family, I have a loan, come for you. You understand? The people who have the loan, who approach the banks and they get what they need, they are silent.
In fact, when you walk into AFSA or back Stambik specifically, you will see videos on their screens of SME support.
All over the news. I can't leave any bank out.
Specifically to startup. Once the business hasn't started.
And in some of you keep your ears on the ground, and you will find that in some of those advertisements, they are giving statistics, the number of startups they have helped to set.
Then they should let us know where and how you would get it.
That's your business. We are going to have a bankers fair. Where the timing definitely this year.
Okay, we are here. Once you are ready,
the timing definitely is going to it's going to be sometime in July thereabout. We're going to have a bankers fair where things like what you have said. We have demonstration of businesses that we have supported.
Thank you very much. We are grateful for having you this afternoon. So, if you are watching us, John Dewua is the Chief Executive Officer, the Ghana Association of Bankers, and he's been speaking to us on lots of issues from the financial sector, clean up to digitization and digitalization to the e-levy and so on and so forth. We are grateful to you for your time this afternoon. We are happy to have you. And then we'll follow you. And then once the fair is about to start or you're ready with the dates, we are here. We are here to support and to partner with you. Thank you very much. So we'll see the Forex, as I was announcing to you early on. After that, we'll take a quick break. When I come back, I'll get into the second leg of the show. Stay with us.
Ama, nansi mi general well-being enko ye kwao. Ama ma ye bohu se kontomra akija.
Nansi me hu se me nyo basi makura. Ama me kunu ni me into kwankwa. Oyiwa. Enye mo give us GC mixture and the capsules. Aye numbum. En ho asem na mo kana. Ebua emma ene meme nyina. Ne ma wo ba ye obesima. Na be ma so aye be masima. Ya, we be bua wukuru. Ama ne giant sa wo de hye ne botum. Na wanyinya ne nti sese ne oyi chokwa.
Give us GC mixture and then a capsule.
Achesa.
Apemfo abatra one more menufu ne nkwada we ne fie dum
MNC Group is a leading investment holding company with expertise in minerals and food commodity trading, precious minerals refinery, real estate development, and logistics and energy. With individually registered companies, our headquarters is located in Accra, Ghana, with operational offices in Dubai, UAE, Hong Kong, and Guangzhou in China, Johannesburg in South Africa, Virginia in the USA, and Milan, Italy. We connect business markets and drive growth. Trust us to maximize value in every deal. Call us on 0302 551 917 or 0302 551 918 or send us an email mncgroup@mncgroupgh.com. MNC Group, totally reliant.
Hey Ghana, hey Accra, where you the maiden edition. Walk in your jersey. Ignite Sports and Yade Bramo. Basso Saturday, 24th of May, 2025. Yeah, Shasia wa Accra Mall. Near Center Point Mall. Our Atomic Junction. Shannon So. Ignite Sports.
Team Bain our supporting Arsenal, Man U, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Inter, Anase, FC Barcelona. And yeah, Shawu Chelsea. Na Brasia, walk in your Jesse. Yenina Yenshia Jesse, Niemra, Nienantimo.
Etia 2 years sorry, Akuo Enina, Keep Fit Club, and Nase Suku Ahudu Enina, Ye Shasia, our shopping mall, a crab or Ye Shasia, near the Akopim, our center point.
And you walk in your Jesse. We taking over.
You're welcome back from the break, and we are still live on the bottom. So bottom line is on Mondays, and I needed to make this announcement to you, so that's how come I'm sure it's coming up. We are live here on Business Edge on Good Afternoon Ghana, but let me still announce to you that on the bottom line on Mondays for the next 13 weeks, we started last Monday, we're doing purely agri and agri-business. So we are talking about how we can all come together to improve agriculture here in the country, right from farming, whether it's any of the traditional farms, or whether it's crop farming, or it's animal farming, or it's aqua farming, whichever way it is, we are discussing it through the value addition of it, and then through the manufacturing processes to the export or to consumption, everything that has to do with agri for the next 13 weeks. So on Mondays from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., you want to stick and stay with us right here on Metro TV and watch the bottom line. On bottom line, we say business at the speed of thought. You will get everything about agri. If you're interested in farming as well, you may want to watch the show. We get the minister and everybody on. But for today, what we've been doing so far is that we have been talking about banking in general in Ghana, and we are moving away from there. Last week or last 2 weeks, we had a conversation on mining, and we hosted the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Mines on all the issues in the mining sector. He mentioned that a program is coming up, and he mentioned WAMPEX, the West Africa Mining and Power Expo. So we decided that today, the program is coming up next week, but today we'll have this conversation in the lead up to the program itself. Let's see what's going to happen at the program, what shape it's going to take, who is allowed to come into the program, and maybe some other few issues in the mining sector here in Ghana. We are privileged, very privileged this afternoon to have the Chief Executive Officer of WAMPEX, Nana Antwi Dakwa, join me this afternoon for the discussion on mining. Nana, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I hope you're doing very well.
Very well, thank you.
And let me run away a bit from the mining. There has been so much you have been doing for the industry and for the country, but we haven't seen you in a while.
Very well, growing old, getting involved in so many things.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also learned to delegate.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of business that I'm doing that people are at the face. Like you just mentioned, Agrek right now.
Mm-hmm. And I saw that you were
I'm in that space, but of course...
Please pull the mic a bit to yourself so that...
I'm in that space, but you would be talking to somebody else who's managing. You go to the defense area, we are very big in unarmed area vehicles, but somebody will be the face. So I think at a certain time, you need to do a certain withdrawal, but from the back, encourage others to, because it's motivated enough when they know they are the face of a business, and then they are encouraged. So,
but we don't see that a lot in our part of the world where people delegate. We see people trying to champion their own, and then I think it may be one of the reasons why we have businesses stay in their small corners as SMEs forever and ever, and they never grow.
I think I'm one of the proponents of trying to motivate and encourage others to bring people into their space, because if you look over the landscape, there are a lot of businesses that you knew, big names, I mean, I don't want to mention them, that 15, 20 years ago, they were big businesses, but now they fizzle out.
You don't hear of them at all.
Yes, but if they've had the wisdom to bring fresher brains, encourage them, motivate them, maybe give them some equity stake in the business, which is what happens all over the world. So it's a name. It's maybe Events and Projects International. But I'm at the base. I don't run it. In fact, in actual fact, for this event, for instance, my ladies who are the face now would have come. They just called me yesterday and said, look, Nana, can you go and speak for us? Yeah, because you haven't spoken for long. Otherwise, you would come to the conference center. You come to many of our shows over the past 10 years.
Yes.
Although I primarily own it with some South Africans and the chamber, you would not see me. But previously, I'll be the face speaking, I'll go on television, I'll go on radio. But the beauty now, and that should be the future of business in Ghana, is to encourage others to feel that they're part of the business, either in some equity or whatever, then the businesses will not die. If you die, the business dies. But if they're in, it goes on.
Why do we have that problem we have? Is it the problem of confidence in the youth, or trust, or loyalty, or what? Why? Why do we have the problem? And why? How are you confident enough to repose confidence in somebody to lead a project you have started or a business you have built?
Okay, so it must come from some bit of experience. For those who know me, I mean, I've been doing businesses per sector. I've been doing business for the past 50 years.
Yes.
Okay, so it's easier for me to see that the future is in getting people involved in your business. Previously, people relied only on their children. The point is, what about if you don't have the energy, the education, the enthusiasm to run the business? And it means that if you go, they go. But if I bring you here, I mean, if this is my radio station,
yes,
and I say, look, guys, you're coming on, you're having an equity of 10%, that equity will be, more like be with you over the time period that you serve on the board. You are engaged, you are excited, you want to make sure that it's successful. In fact, your appetite to make the business successful will even more than me, because it's a situation where you've brought your intellect, but no money. Like we were talking to the banker before, you could have as much ideas as possible. If you don't have the money to move the business, it becomes something sitting in your brain. So if you encourage the guy to know that, look, hey, you have the business, you have the wisdom, I have the money, I can equitize your brains. Believe me, if we move into that area, we're going to be very successful.
How many businesses do you have now?
I think a couple. I'm in the agric space. We have a ginger business in Cocoa. The ginger. So we do ginger powder. Giselle, which is championing agric, we've just put us on to be part of those who are going to do pepper for exports. So we did sign. They've selected some 30 companies. So we did sign some agreement with them. So we're going to go into that space. We're into properties. We do quite well. I mean, into the food industry. If you go to Osu, there's Picasso is one of ours. Canvas Restaurant is one of ours. If you go to the security and defense space, we do a lot with the police, with the army, with the navy. But the point is, it's a business. It's not too important to trumpet it. The most important is to make sure.
But all of these businesses, you have people running.
People run it. I mean,
they all do reports to you.
They do, and they're happy because they have the.
Is it daily? Do they do it daily or weekly, or how do you manage all of this?
Well, you see, I was fortunate to have a mate of mine who was also in the banking industry. He rose to the point of being the MD of banks here, bank in Uganda. In retirement, he joined me. So, like, we are the two who really, I mean, he is very supportive. So we discuss like business on the golf course. We discuss the business on holidays. So basically, you need to have an anchor that you can discuss this with. So it doesn't matter who is the MD or the GM, you know the business runs.
So how did you get in the mining sector?
Okay, so many years ago, I think in '93, that was when Ghana was a 1 million ounce producer. And Dr. Sam Jonah was the head of affairs at, it was Ashanti gold field. And a lot of Guineans were encouraged to give support services to the mining industry. So obviously we found space in there, and together with a partner of mine, we're doing a lot with AngloGold Ashanti. And what we realized was that most of the companies who were coming here wanted to get local partners because, I mean, they cannot be here all the time.
Yes.
So we found a niche in that area where we became local agent for a lot of the companies. And then beyond that, it was just when apartheid was breaking down.
Yes.
And to even go to South Africa, you needed to go to Cote d'Ivoire to get a visa. So we went to the first exhibition that the South Africans were doing in Cote d'Ivoire. Of course, they couldn't come to Ghana. We met the organizers and we said, why don't you do something in Ghana? They got excited. They came here. But they did look at the terrain and said, listen, Ghana is now a champion in the gold industry, the mining industry. So we think the best thing to do is to do a mining expo. We agreed with them. And in 1994, the first West African Mining and Power Exhibition was started at the 1994. So this is our 31st year.
It's 1 good years.
Yeah, 31. And it's interesting that we can put on record that it's the longest surviving business event in the sub-region. In fact, we are second biggest after Indaba,
yes.
Cape Town. And we see it growing every day. I mean, one would have thought that there is what you call exhibitor fatigue or exhibition fatigue, but it doesn't happen in this industry. I think it's because of the synergies that we built. I mean, working with Chamber, making a partner of what we do, involved in the various chambers across West Africa. So Ghana then is a destination.
So what happens is that you are the convener.
Yes.
You, I mean, the business person, you have a partnership with the Ghana Chamber of Mines. If you go to South Africa, you have a partnership with them.
That's right.
If you go to the other countries in Africa, you have, or West Africa, you have a partnership with all of them.
We don't have a partnership per se.
But you liaise with them.
We liaise with them because, every West African country will have a Chamber of Mines. And so if the Chamber of Mines in Ghana becomes a partner, it means that by extension, they can bring their
everybody. Every other institution.
All right.
And for 31 years, you have been doing this.
And the South Africans to, have a bigger platform. Originally, when we started, it was with a company called Exhibition Management Services. They owe 50% and we owed 50%.
Okay.
And then along the way, I think about 5-6 years ago, I'm sure they were fatigued. So they sold their 50% to DMG. DMG is a Daily Mail group of UK.
Okay.
Who are very big in event management. In UAE, if you go there, they do the food expo, they do a lot of expo. So we're very fortunate to have them as our partners. And surprisingly, when they join us, even after COVID, when we thought interest had gone down, we almost doubled the number of exhibitors who came to the show.
Even after COVID?
Even after COVID.
So let's come to last year. Last year, you did it?
We did it.
You did WAMPEX last year?
So, and I'll tell you, so WAMPEX used to be a biannual affair.
Okay.
So 94, 96, 98,
2000, 2002.
That's right.
24,
Exactly.
26, 28, 210, and then
But
2024.
in between every show, for the past 10 years, the Chamber of Mines also do another exhibition in mining, but it wasn't as big as ours. So our new partners from South Africa said, why don't we go into some kind of partnership with Chamber? It means that it will dilute the two of us, our stakeholding or our shares. But then, because we will do it every year, it means that even if you dilute your shares, you are assured that every year
you will still
somebody will come to your table.
Mobilize, yes, and get the revenue you're looking for.
And we did. And last year was big. There wouldn't have been a show this year. But this year that they've joined us, we're so big that we've gone beyond the numbers that we had last year. And that's the beauty of the partnership with the Chamber of Mines.
I'm looking for the data I got. Last year, you made some numbers beyond the previous year.
Sure.
And then currently you have a number of registration as well.
Yeah.
Which is also beyond last year.
Beyond last year, yeah. Much beyond last year. And that's very exciting to us. It's increased by 30% from last year. And
that's just the registration. And people who have been registered will also come.
In fact, you see, we have something we call the last minute syndrome.
Yes.
And where a week to the show, they all rush. But even as of now, we are about 30% more than than last year.
Okay.
So if you should go by the last minute syndrome, it means that the numbers will go beyond the 40% of our subscription that we had last year. And we're quite excited about that.
Let me gather of mining companies, industry players, and stakeholders.
Yes.
Is that the case?
That's the case.
What happens when you get to the conference?
See, when we get to the conference, so let's look at the exhibition on one side,
yes,
and the conference on the other side.
Yes.
The conference gives opportunity for stakeholders to table to the audience innovative, things in the industry. I mean, if before maybe they were using a caterpillar or some chemical or whatever, experts would then come and give some further information of some of the innovations that have happened in the industry. So that is the benefit that you get. I mean, it also gives most countries to come. I mean, like we've invited all the sub-region to come and also tell the audience gathered. Because don't forget that, like for instance, this year we have 22 countries coming.
Yes.
From
22 different countries.
Yeah, Italy, Germany, India, Austria, Peru is here, Australia, Ireland is a great mining industry. We Morocco and Turkey. So what happens is
you have the USA, Denver people, and so on and so forth.
They're there. So what happens is they get the opportunity at a conference without going to Niger or without going to Cote d'Ivoire or without going to Mali. They would get a representative from that country to tell them the development of the industry in that country, to excite them that, look, hey guys, you're in Ghana, but something is happening.
You can come and invest here.
Exactly. So that's a platform that the conference offers. Then the exhibition will bring companies, some who've come before, they don't have agents, to, like present their materials for the visitors and for the Ghanaian industry. We see all the mining companies busing their people to come to the show, AngloGold Ashanti, Chirano, and all of them, to see what is on the ground, new innovation, new technologies. So that is what the exhibition also offers.
Do you have some of these small mining companies coming?
We do.
The very small ones?
Very small ones.
Do you check whether they are legal or illegal?
Well, if you say small, the two things. They are small, which are small-scale mining companies. Maybe we are looking at the unlicensed mining companies.
Unlicensed, let me put it
all right.
Unlicensed mining companies.
So they will come around as visitors.
Okay.
To see whether they may get people who are interested. Somebody may be doing some work on some piece of land where he thinks is good. He hasn't regularized it. Okay. It gives them a chance to talk to other, because some finance guys come there, some guys in
the banking sector, you get bankers to come
whatever.
in.
So it gives them an opportunity to say, look, I think I have this somewhere. I mean, if there's an interest, you can regularize it. And that is why you get them all coming. I mean, they have a chance of meeting those who are big, like the Anglos, the Newmonts, and the Chiranos. Those who are small scalers, they meet them. And then, perchance, their luck will shine and they'll bump into somebody who would say, look, if you have something, let me help you to regularize your documentation, and it can become a small-scale business concern. That's what happens.
There are mining going on in river bodies. You have companies or NGOs like Arocha opposing the mining in the Brim and so on and so forth. And so on a platform like this, you get them also to come.
We do.
They're non-governmental organizations, they're advocacy groups and so on and so forth.
We invite all of them.
Yes.
They come and speak at the conference. One of my other business concerns also, we do drones. We approach the mines. That the law says a certain distance away from river body, don't go. You see them in the river. We're suggesting to them that we can have drone facility, which has
produce the drones.
Well, we do produce, but we bring them as well.
Okay.
And we have a facility with the Ghana Army where we are majority shareholders, the Army is part holder, where we're looking at going to work with the Minerals Commission and bring in drones which have munitions. So the drone is up, because you see, if there's a challenge, then the man says, this is right, that's right. But if the law says, don't go closer to the river body, and from our website, we have maybe the Brim River across, and we see that a chamfer, usually those Chinese equipment, which goes to work and the river bed is going, we can then give instructions for our drone to fly there and then drop ammunition into the chamfer and destroy it. So these are some of the things that we discussed.
But the government, is the government aware of this? Have they called to partner with you? Because we are fighting Galamsey.
We're talking to them. So if you come to the show, we'll bring one of our drone vans there for people to see. And then we'll be engaging the mining companies, saying that maybe you don't need to have, for example, what happened in Ashanti, where they had drones, there was a fight between them. Just be at a distance. I mean, contract us. Okay? We would do a survey, area surveillance, and then we do what needs to be done. Of course, this is aside from what we're discussing now. But I'm just saying that those are some of the possibilities that are available now. We're talking to them, and if we have a chance, we will do that, and that will be helpful to the government.
When I was having the discussion with the CEO of the banking, I spoke about technology, the digitalization. One area key to the mining industry is innovation, digitization, technology. And I see that in this year, you are adding that up, or it's been there throughout. Innovation Hub.
Well, it's been made bigger now. That was at the request of the stakeholders.
That they want a technology innovation involved in the whole process.
That is it.
What form is it going to take?
You see, there'll be what we call set rooms. So when you come there, you're either going to the conference or you are going to the exhibition. But we'll have hubs, rooms, where if there's an innovation that they think mine A or mine B or mine C needs, they would invite them to the special rooms to go and discuss with them that this is available, this is how it works. You have televisions which will do a demo of what happens, and then maybe through that, they can then engage them and say, look guys, we need you. Come over and help us. So this is an innovation that is coming on now. It used to be, but now we are setting up specific rooms for specific innovative, initiatives that can help the mining companies, and that is being done now.
So when you do the program in the year, now that it's going to be every year, it used to be biannual, but now when you do it, do you do something like a report, something like a communique, or you just provide a platform? For example, one of the key issues in the mining sector is health and safety. People are very much concerned because of the heavy machines they use, the chemicals they use, and so on and so forth. So let's assume that this year or last year, your concentration was on the theme health and safety. Do you come out with a report that you send out to the stakeholders or the mining companies that this is where your discussions gear towards, and so this will be your focus in running your company in the next 1 or 2 years?
Okay, so it's interesting to let you know that even before the full partnership with the Chamber of Mines at every show that we have, we part sponsor the annual general meeting of the Chamber of Mines, which brings all of them to the conference center. So that is also the opportunity that they have to discuss some of the things that are happening in the mining industry. And then when the stakeholders go to their various mines, and it's not only the mining industry, safety and all those people, they all come. So that's the beauty. So a communique goes out because the chamber brings all their members there. So the members are able to disseminate the information to wherever it must go.
Now, my time is up, but tell me in 1 minute, this year, what is going to happen? So from when it is going to happen, maybe the theme, who is allowed to come and participate, or who can register, where we are registering, and what we should expect when we come there.
All right.
In 1 minute.
So the theme for this year is the mining and power hub, driving sustainable investment opportunities in West Africa. And obviously, it's going to be held at the conference center.
International Conference Center. On the date is what?
Wednesday 28th to Friday the 30th.
Okay, that's next week.
Yeah, next week.
Next week, Wednesday.
Yeah, next week,
28th. Okay.
The opening ceremony is on the 28th. Usually starts about 9 o'clock and ends at 5 o'clock. Okay. And last year we had Utufo sent and his representative to be the special guest to open. This year we're getting the Royal Majesty King Takite.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, President of the Ghana Traditional Council. We are having Honorable Emmanuel Amakufi-Bua, Minister of Land and Mineral Resources, to come.
Yes.
And then Honorable Jula Bujina, Minister of Energy and Green Transition. We've been very fortunate over the period to have either the presence of the president or the vice president, because I think all of them has held our events, mining and power, in very high esteem because of the place it has in the general economy of the country. So we've been very fortunate to have all of them here. And to tell you, we have all these people coming. The conference is 2 days, but the exhibition runs for 3 days.
And the AGM will continue.
Will continue. And the innovation hub you're saying about is something that is going to help them, like a groundbreaking event that would give them opportunity to do technical workshops, production demonstrations, and launches. And we also invite the School of Mines to come. So whilst they are in school, they already know what is happening.
Yes.
And that is the beauty of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Last year we had 220 exhibitors registered. Today,
and now this year you have more.
Going to be more.
But where do we get to on your website if we want to go and register now?
I think if you go to
if you Google WAMPEX,
you're going to have all the details.
And then everything.
Or otherwise, if you get in touch with the Chamber of
Ghana Chamber of Mines.
Of
course, Chief Ahmed and his people are there also, so we can follow. So from next week, Wednesday, 28th of the month to the 30th day of the month, you only join the WAMPEX team at the Accra International Conference Sector if you have anything at all to do with mining, or if you want to have anything at all to do with mining. Nana Entry Dakwa is the Chief Executive Officer. WAMPEX. Nana, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
This is Business Edge. Remember that on Monday we do business on the bottom line. Thank you very much for staying with us. My name is Kwesi Afri. Continue watching Metro TV. Good afternoon to you.
Brought you the hottest trending music videos, insightful interviews with your favorite celebrities, and some dance moves.
We also got your favorite celebrity talking about their deep, goofy, and interesting sides you and I can see on cameras and social media.
But hold up, this season we are bringing you a whole new different vibe. Spanking new videos, top 5 countdown, and the all-new segment dubbed MVC Experience, where we bring you close to music, fun, and more interesting vibes.
Join the vibe this and every Saturday on Metro Television.
Don't forget to follow us on our social media handles, MVC Official TV.